Welcome to the show. I'm Matty Marshall. We got event number 2, Major League Paintball, going down in Atlantic City, coming up next weekend, the 2nd through the 4th of May. And I'm blessed to have Colt Luckau, one of the best in the business. Coming off a knee injury, though, we're going to pick his brain about, they're the number 1 team in the game right now, PB Fit. They are pretty much have been unstoppable for the past 2 events. World Cup last year, only lost 1 game. Finished with like a plus 25 and then undefeated at the first event. So currently best in the business here, PB Fit. So yeah, I'm going to check in with Colt about his schedule, his thoughts on some of these other top teams, the layout as we are on the eve of event number 2. So without any further ado, let's bring in Colt Luckau and start chopping it up. Colt, how you doing, bud?
What's up? I'm doing good. Happy to be on the show.
I just think it's super fitting, seeing as you are like a paintball Jesus Christ right now, that you're lighting at your house. It looks like you have a crown, like you're Jesus out of a medieval painting right now. It's perfect.
No, that's crazy. Yeah, no, the mirror definitely is wild. I'm sorry for the audience.
Oh, it's all good. But no, so yeah, let's jump into this. Let's first, again, wanted to pick your brains. You guys are obviously just completely dominant right now. The past 2 events, if we go back to World Cup, and if people haven't seen, Road to the Finals, go and check it out on YouTube and kind of see their PB Fit's journey. But since World Cup, you guys have been dominant. You only lost 1 game at World Cup. You were plus 25 there, and then you were undefeated in Tampa. You've beat some of the best names in the business in the road to the World Championship, and and exerting your presence as the number 1 team in the world at event number 1, sitting on a plus 41 plus minus for the past 2 events, which is that's elite performance, man. I mean, that's not typically how it goes. But before we kind of jump into the team, your thoughts on the layout and your brackets, and then also kind of want to get your thoughts on some of these other top teams that are, you got a target on your backs now. You've made this big statement. They're trying to take you guys down. But how's the knee? How's the progress on the knee?
It's better every day. It's still it's gonna be. I'll probably not be able to play all year. At least that's what the doctors are telling me right now. Is 9 months is kind of what it's looking like. I'm gonna try to get it to 6 or 7 months. I'm not gonna play unless I'm 100%, unless they clear me, because I don't want to re-injure it. But the goal is to play Cup. If I can't play Cup, I'll be 100% healthy by next year. So now I'm just trying to be positive about it and keep trying to develop players and make sure the team has what they have to succeed.
Well, see, you've definitely become, and even the guys say this, you're a obviously a captain there, an emotional leader, and now kind of have to go into a coaching role. You went down at practice and were not able to play the last event, and this is just how it is until you prove otherwise. In the, Survivor Island Lion's Den that is pro paintball, when you guys first came up, we're like, oh, okay, Colt's a great gunfighter. Chavez is, amazing on the D side, but they're kind of lacking depth, right? And that's, now you guys have proved that to be completely wrong, and you proved it at Cup with, sitting Cyrus in a key point. But the rise of Cyrus, the rise of Stewart, Mason, even Brody getting spins out there. Obviously, Shav, it's just like you guys are deep across the board here. And so how's that mentality? Because I know you guys, it's like you guys aren't underrated anymore, but you have to, when you get to the top of the mountain, you have to like manufacture, like these dudes, they still are, we haven't proved anything yet. It's like, yeah, dude, you guys are world champs and you're sitting at like a plus 41 for the past 2 events. So you definitely proved something. But hey, bro, if that's what you need to tell yourselves to get it up, then more power to you. So, but how is that, talk to me, bring me into that mindset, what you guys are thinking right now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think everyone is in the same mindset of like, you want to keep proving people wrong, of course, right? Like, and that's just like, just because you did it once or twice, you still just want to keep beating it into their head. At least like what I try to instill into people is like, it's still like, it's kind of like what you say, like, what have you done for me lately? Like if we go out and we go 0-4, it's real quick for people to be like, it was just 2 good events, right? So like, I think everyone's in the same mindset of let's go win a series. And it's how can we get better from that last win, and what for me as a coach, like, or player, coach, whatever you want to call it, but like when I look at our wins, and this has been since semi-pro, I look at how could I have beat us if I was coaching the other team? Like what were the holes in our game, and then how can I fix that for the next layout? And I think that's everyone as well. I think we're all kind of on the same page of like, hey man, if this team played this any better in this position, I think they would have gave us a lot of problems. They just, steered away from it, or vice versa. So it's kind of just how can we keep getting better, and how do we win the next tournament and not too excited about the win we just got.
Well, I think that one of the reasons you guys have found, obviously, the success you had in the semi-pro division, then coming up and, being on the brink of making Sunday for those first few events, and then making Sunday, and then just making that big splash at Cup. But when you go and look at the tape on how you guys are when you win points but only lose like one body, or you beat you beat it, just absolutely demolish a team that let them score a point, right? And you'll be in the huddle and be hypercritical on those few little mistakes. And when I coach divisional teams, that's one of the same things that I'm like, hey, let's not start patting each other on the back, dude. Why did you die out of that spot? Like, yeah, we crushed that team, and we only let them score one, but we made this mistake here and this mistake there. If we want to win this tournament or win the series, we have to. And all the best teams do that. All the best players do
Mhm.
that, and it's been that way since time immemorial. That is how the mindset has to be if you want to get elite and stay elite. So I just think that's really cool, and sign of respect to, or a shout out of respect to you guys for having that mindset. But is that something that you had to work on? Because I feel that it's sometimes it's easy to kind of just default to the positives, like, oh yeah, okay, we crushed that team, we lost that body, whatever, who cares, or yeah, we beat the team by 3, but who cares, that we lost those 2 points. So I'm just kind of wondering, did you guys have to manufacture that? Was that something you picked up on early? Where did that come from?
I think a lot of that stemmed from my brother when I was first getting in, because like I would kind of, when I first started, right, I was like 16, and I would get more excited about the points I did good and not like stress about it, right? Like you're first starting out, like you're somewhat critical, but like it was him kind of always instilling into me like, yeah, like you went through and got a 3-pack, but you could have been alive and you could have shot 2 more guys. And then like baby steps like that, I think kind of instilled into the whole team, because he kind of does that with everyone. And then everyone kind of started adapting that mentality of like, you did something good, but it could have been way better. But if that other team would have done this, you never would have even got down the snake, right? Or vice versa. Just kind of hypercritical on the what ifs of paintball. But I think that was definitely a learned thing. Um, but I mean, I was fortunate in the fact that like when I came into paintball, I got thrown into D4X, and my brother had already won tournaments, played, and everything. So he kind of already had that mentality. So just instilled it to me within like my first 2 tournaments. And then we've done that and he's done that with me and Trenton and my other brother Brody since we all first started playing. So then it just kind of every person that came onto the team, that was the mentality. It's like you did good, but you could
So
have did
John,
way better if you.
Johnny's kind of like the master gardener of the paintball talent from PB Fit. Like, okay, I got some, something to work with here, but I got to tend to this. I got to, give it some fertilizer. I got to water this. I got to kind of cultivate what we have here and bring the mentality to the next level, the skills to the next level. Shout out to Johnny. So what is, again, this is kind of what you guys are notorious for, being the team that plays the most, right? And obviously you guys are able to hyperspeed whatever talent and skills you guys had, and then obviously gives you a ton of confidence to play as much paintball. You actually are going to be headed to practice here in a little bit. But kind of just walk me through what you think was the secret sauce as far as how you guys ran training. Was it just the volume? Was it specific drills you guys really dialed down on? Because there's going to be a lot of divisional players that watch this. They want to succeed. You guys have become, again, I coach divisional teams. Shout out Alliance. We won D3 Dub C. But, I use you guys as an example. I'm like, look, this is what's possible. Look at what PB Fit just did. I mean, look, they are now elite. They're the best team in the world. And this is what is possible. But if you want to get, it's like goals versus fantasies. Like, you obviously looked at being the best paintball team in the world as a goal and worked towards it. But what were those actionable things that you did as far as, to work on your skill sets or just the volume? I mean, where's the secret sauce there? Because there's a lot of divisional teams that want to emulate this and be the next PB Fit.
No, absolutely. I mean, a big thing, like you said, like of course drills and all that helps, and playing a ton of points. But you could do all the drills in the world and play 100 points a day, but you're not going to get better if you're not kind of what we talked about, like hypercritical, like just truly accountable and like that was a bad point. You know what I mean? Like you go win with 4 bodies up, like you were saying, but you should have won with 5, or it gets down to a 3-on-3 and it's not even a good team you're playing. But yeah, of course you win it, or you win a 2-on-5, right? But if you're not hypercritical and accountable on how you messed up that point, I don't think you get any better. So I think for us, the secret sauce was just genuinely being super hypercritical and honestly very anal when it came to just perfecting mid-game situationals. And I mean, it's hard, and you also got to be saying the right stuff, right? Because sometimes people come off and they just start saying stuff to say stuff, and I'm like, that's not. You're just complaining at this point. So like, it's a weird line that has to get drawn, and honestly, not everyone needs to say something after every point, right? Because it is what it is. Not everyone has the knowledge, and they just are angry that they lost the point, so they're just kind of yelling to the sky. But I think that was a big proponent of us getting better so quick. Is like every point it was either Johnny, me, or Trenton getting on to somebody, and most of the time, honestly, it was me, and I'm one of the people who yelled at the sky. Not saying it's the wrong information, but I'll be like, "You got to be effing kidding me! Like this is what we should have been doing this." And a lot of teammates don't like to hear that, but I think they also know that it comes from a place of like, I want to win, not you're an idiot. It's just like, hey, if you would have fixed this, if we're playing a team that's really, really good, they adapt and they win that point because you didn't tell me to come to this side, even though we won the point, right? I think that's how you get really good really fast. Is just genuinely the whole team has to be self accountable, um, not just about how many points you play and how many drills you do, but the self accountability. Because even drills, if you're snapping and your whole half of your head's out and you're never actually tucking all the way into the bunker, you're just, yeah, I'm hitting the target 9 out of 10 times, but you just looked at it the whole time. Like that's not, you just got to be self accountable. I think that's the biggest thing to get better fast.
Before we kind of talk about your bracket here, I want to talk about your depth. We kind of touched on it a little bit, but there was a kind of another big question, and rightfully so. You're big part of the starting line, shoot a ton of bodies on the break. You're a master gunfighter, quarterback out there, helping keep that conduit information going back and forth between the D side, snake side in the middle, good at closing. So, you go down with this severe knee injury, and everyone was kind of wondering like, okay, well, who's going to be the next man up and how is this going to go for Fit? Because you drop one of your main starters, that's 20% of your elite firepower out there. Like, how does that go? Well, it went really well for you guys. You guys went undefeated. So talk to me about this depth. And, we got to give props to Seabaugh. I mean, Jacob Seabaugh really stepped up and got a ton of spins. And I mean, the whole line played well. I mean, across the board. I mean, Stewart was a beast out there. Mason had probably one of the best looks I've ever seen for him. Chavez has been an institution for you guys on that D side, but it didn't really matter who you guys put out there. Everyone was getting it done. But just talk to me about that depth and how crucial that is for success, for not just in the pro league, but for any division.
Yeah, I mean that's huge, right? And not just injuries, just being able to have a different look and a different player. Because I mean, let's be honest, people probably disrespected Jake's gun a lot. So like, what I noticed was like, whenever I'm playing, people know I'm gonna shoot you if you play lazy going to a spot. And I started noticing a lot of teams were kind of just being really lazy on that snake side because it wasn't, and I could be wrong, but it felt like it was because I wasn't playing that position and it was a different player. They have no idea can also shoot a body off break. So I think having that depth of someone who's equally as skilled in shooting someone, it allowed him to come in as a new face nobody really knows, and teams were just disrespecting him the whole time, and he was making them wear it, right? And then having players that also can step up in that moment, right? So like when I play, I'm usually the voice, like you said, like most of the time during the game, I'm just louder than everyone, so like it kind of overpowers. But like Trenton has the same IQ I do, so like all that really happened was he had to take that role of putting the situation together, as well as Scott Stewart on the snake side. So both of them kind of just did exactly what I normally do with both of them and slowed the game down. And I think that's really what happened, was that depth of having other players that can also play that role. Um, and I think that was a big proponent, right? Because if we don't have the depth with Jake to come in, or say Johnny to come in and play my spot, yeah, we're gonna have to change our whole game plan and change everything because we don't have the depth, right? So like having the depth in your team is drastic, especially like if I go out, say I'm not hurt, say I go out and I just am not playing good, right? If we have nobody to play my spot, you're just gonna have to keep putting some guy out there who's just dead all the time and not shooting anyone. Like it's a big thing. It's the same reason they have it in basketball and football and everything. Your bench is equally as important as your starters.
Well, yeah, because I mean, anyone that's played sports know that, dude. Some days you're on fire. Some days you're playing paintball, you can't be touched. You're smoking dudes on the break. I mean, you're on one. And then other days you're out there playing catch, and you never know when that's going to happen. And it happens to everyone. I mean, I've seen the best guys, Hall of Famers, Oliver Langs, Chris Soyas. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like pick a legend out of the books. And when I was playing against them, I saw that guy have a bad day. But it can't just be that one guy. You could pick your example in sports, but sometimes your best hitter who's, raking with, hit 10 home runs in the past 20 games and is hitting 400, then he's going to go out and go 0-4 that day. Someone else has got to step up and get some hits, barrel up some balls, same thing. Your main dude who, if your running back is typically averaging 125 yards a game with 2 touchdowns, but they put a good game plan together and shut him down, well, your receivers better go off. Again, that's sports. So it's been really cool to see. It's just, you guys are, again, I cannot say this enough because it's facts. It's just so true. You guys are a giant inspiration for everyone because it shows everyone what's possible. Let's move on and talk about the layout a little bit here. If we could get that up on the screen. I'm sure everyone's kind of, hanging on your every word is when this is going to, because you guys have been so good at putting together really good game plans. I don't know if you guys played this last night or, you're how much time you've already put on this. I know you guys are, put this up immediately and start to get after it. I know you guys got practice coming up here. But what are your initial thoughts on this? Did you guys get spins on this already?
We got a couple, but nothing crazy. It's just been bad weather. We won't have good weather until tomorrow, so like we probably won't even be able to get any work in today. Just because like right now it's just storming. But I can say that I think there's going to be a lot of people dead off the break. I think your shots are going to be huge from that back center, even though it's a W. But no, I think both sides can win. Of course, through the center, right? When you have a center like this with 5, giant bunkers, as well as towers, it's going to be pretty powerful. I don't think it takes any kind of thought, just understanding people are going to get weird and try to come to your side a lot. And then I think both sides will be good depending on if people can make it out wide. But I do think a lot of people are going to die off break on this field.
Yeah, it looks like they tried to put some. I mean, obviously, you put a W back there. You could triple up that spot. I mean, until I get out there and kind of check it out this weekend, tough to tell. But and looking at it from that back, I mean, I'm just wondering how it looks like there is a little bit of blockage towards that snake side from that center spot. Also, you guys have been masters of this. All the good teams that are winning are able to do this, but putting guys, kind of out in those blind zones, those dead zones to get creative looks off the break, what's survivable, what's not. Can you get a read on that? Can you shoot the shooters?
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's interesting though that 50 is outset a bit, and there's no corner on the snake side. Which if you get a guy in there and he wins his battle, should be curtains for your opponents. Got another gunfighter paradise, it looks like, on that D side with everything kind of in a line out there. So, once you get into that D2, get past the little mini wall, it's just kind of gunfight central over there. And then, like you said, just with that middle, so many different options for attack in the middle. I think it's going to be interesting, though, because the D side looks like you can get some points over there, as always. Middle looks like a run-through festival, potentially, depending on how many kills or where they come from off the break. And then that D side, or snake side, again, with that 50 being, slight. I'm interested to see how much you're going to be able to gunfight down the line with those inside shots and the angles. It doesn't look like you're going to be able to do that. So it's kind of a race to the 50. We'll see though, but it does look fun. Yeah, I don't know. And then I'm always wondering, slow versus fast points. I don't know. I mean, that's going to kind of come down to, can you get to defensible spots? But if you don't have a back corner bunker on the snake side, to get to as a safety valve if things are going bad, that could potentially make it tough to, it's like when, it's you're walking a closeout. So if we got a 53 5-on-3, how do we, and there's 3 of them left, where most likely are they going to try to get to? Where are the best spots to hold off? And it just gives you less options if there's no one out wide on that snake side to try to hold off and present some sort of solid defense if you're forced into that position or strategically decide to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun one. I always bring up Alex Frazier in these situations because, Alex has played a billion paintball tournaments and he's kind of got a little bit of an irreverent attitude towards things sometimes. And I'll be like, hey, Alex, what do you think about the layout? And he'll be like, and then, he's, messing with me, but they're like, oh, you remember Malaga, Spain, 2007? It reminds me of that one. Like, he's just total bullshit. And it's like, so it's, he's like, it's a paintball field, man. We will figure it out. We'll figure the variables out.
Yeah.
So let's jump into these. So yeah, I mean, your last thoughts on the field before we move on, because again, I'm sure there's a bunch of your enemies are probably watching this, so sure you're not trying to give anything away.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. I think the snake side is going to be powerful. And like you said, a lot of gunfights, and I think that'll be very entertaining for people to watch.
Yeah. So let's jump into the brackets here. For your bracket, obviously you guys are sitting number 1. You're going to be playing in the afternoon on both days. The first thing that I saw that makes this, there's a couple things that make this interesting. One, you guys got AC Diesel sitting second in your bracket, and anyone that played or watched World Cup knows that there is obviously history with Diesel. If we go back, seeing as how they were the pros that were, getting reps against you guys when you were up and coming divisional players. Then we had the Wild Madness at World Cup where you guys took them down with the whole Clint Johnson, Cyrus, BJ craziness. And then you also have San Antonio X Factor in your bracket as well, too. So we basically got the 3 top Texas teams other than Houston Heat. And anytime I bring up Houston Heat to the Texans, they're always like, show me a true Texan on Houston Heat. Show me one true Texan, So, yeah. So it's just, I think that the paintball gods have given us a very entertaining one, not only as matchups, but for story. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I think we're in a great bracket. I'm very excited to play Diesel, excited to play X Factor, Infamous, NRG. I think all are going to be great games. Like, I mean, like the fact that NRG is a tier 5 team. I mean, I think they lost in overtime for all their losses. I don't even think they got like blown out by anyone. I mean, they're a solid team. I mean, everyone in the pro league is very competitive. So like when I look at our bracket, I'm like, oh, like these are all teams that will play a Sunday at some point this year, right? So I'm excited. I think when you have a bracket like this and you come out of it, it builds for the next day versus having, say, like a bad bracket or a really good bracket, right, where you're playing all the bad teams and you just get a cakewalk in, but you don't get to see any of the good looks. So I love brackets like this where you play the smart teams, you play the aggressive teams, and you get a look of pretty much everything.
Yeah, I agree with you that Energy Elite sitting in tier 5, because every time we have this bracket conversation, if you're new to pro paintball, welcome. It's the wild wild west, man. You're in for some entertainment if you just got here. But Energy Elite sitting in that 5th tier in brackets when we're discussing, what's the bracket of death? How hard is the bracket? Well, I mean, yeah, we can discuss the finer points and the intricacies and the nuance of how good all the teams are. But I go right to tier 5 and I'm okay. How good is the tier 5 team? How good is the worst quote unquote team in your bracket? And the fact that Energy Elite went 0-4, but their plus minus was a -4. A -4. They lost every game by 1 point in overtime. Like that's as close as it gets. They're bringing a super deep roster to this event too. Looks like they got 12 guys, on their roster, and they were impressive. So the fact that they were able to, they lost all their games, but such close games. I mean, they played the Tauntauns, X Factor, you guys, and the Hurricanes. That's a tough bracket for Energy Elite to have to, have a rebuild, a rename, get a bunch of new dudes on the squad, and go out and play those teams. I mean, good luck. And the fact that they didn't get blown out in any matches is impressive. So I'm looking forward to seeing kind of how this bracket plays out. And then the fact that you got, all these Texas teams, in one bracket is just interesting. What are your thoughts? So let's talk about the Diesel situation here. How much bad blood is there between you and Diesel?
I don't think there's much. I mean, we're all friendly, we're all cordial. Like I still have a lot of love for Mark. Um, I wouldn't say there's bad blood. We just what happened happened. Um, yeah, I don't like we don't think about it, if that makes sense. Like when I saw Diesel's name, it wasn't like anything bad. I'm excited to play him. You know what I mean? Like the only bad blood that ever happened was like me and Alex would get into a lot of arguments at practice, but like it wasn't anything like bad. We just, you know, two top dogs getting angry at each other. I think that's all that was. But no, I can tell you I genuinely wish I wasn't injured so I could play that match. But is what it is. But no, there's nothing crazy.
Well, it's extra dramatic too because you guys have to play each other in the last game in the prelims, in the last set of the prelims, also in a set with Dynasty and Heat. So that's going to be must-see TV if you're a paintball fan, because it could have, depending on how things go, Sunday implications for top teams. Obviously, seeding. Do you have to play in the wild card? Do you not have to play in the wild card? But I just think that that's kind of tailor-made for a really fun set, which is going to be going down 5:45-ish, depending on how things run on schedule or not, in this massive tournament that we're about to go to next weekend. And then what are your thoughts on Infamous? Infamous is, Travis Lemansky has done, I think, a good job of trying to get top-tier talent. It's just been a struggle for them. They haven't been able to win a tournament. When I say a struggle, I mean, yeah, they made some Sundays, but Travis is trying to put that team together to win tournaments. I've been to their practices before. They do work really hard. They spend multiple days out there, and it's full of seasoned vets and a lot, threats and vets, as we always say. And they have threats and they have vets. What are your thoughts on Infamous?
I think they're a phenomenal team. I don't have when I look at their team, I don't think like there's a hole, if that makes sense. Like I think they have really good players across the board. I think it's just sometimes they win, sometimes they lose. I know that's like a weird like scout of their team, but I think they're a phenomenal team, and I do think they'll win an event in the next year or two for sure. Just based off the talent, and like I think like 6 of them live in that like Midwest area together, so like a lot of them can play together. Like or maybe it's like 4 or 5, but no. And then like their new pickup Nate, like that's a solid pickup from the old Blast Camp, and yeah, I mean nothing bad to say about them. They're a solid team. Excited.
What do you guys think you're in the bracket of death based on how tight Energy Elite's losses were? Or do you think one of these other brackets is tougher than yours?
I think without a doubt ours is the most heavy hitter bracket. So like if you look at the other brackets, I mean, I just think like us, because like if you, it's like you said about tier 5, right? It's like I look at us, I look at Group B. That'd be the closest I think to us, like with Aftershock being the 3rd tier, and Heat. I don't think enough people realize like Heat was like a lot of people had a lot of questions with them, picking up the old Blast Camp guys, but I think they got like 5th. Like they did really well for most of their core being a newer squad to pro. But like I think that's all solid team. Now, I mean, then you look at like MYX versus NRG. I think NRG is way better than MYX. So like when I look at that, I'm like, okay, I think we probably have the bracket of death. But yeah, I don't think anyone else's bracket from top to bottom is as solid, if that makes sense.
Well, hey, if you're in the bracket of death and you make it out, best case scenario, because you don't want to play the teams that just had 4 crazy battles. You want to play the team that like smashed everyone in the prelims, which on paper is a little counterintuitive. But if you do go out and just handle business and you don't really face a lot of adversity, then a lot of times you don't have to tweak the little things and have those hard conversations that enables you to dial things in to win tournaments. Let me ask you this question. It might be a little bit of a hard one because it's hard to not get like super PC on this type of, answer. And I mean, you can say whatever you want, of course, but as far as every other team out there, the other top teams, the teams that you think are like, who do you think is going to be the most successful this year other than PB Fit? Who do you look at their roster, look at the preparation, look at the leadership, look at what they're doing out there and think like, all right, that's our rivals for the series title. It could be multiple squads too. But I mean, who do you kind of
Uh,
look at as your true adversaries?
Man, I feel like you got to say the Russians just based off of how much they work, and in talent as well, right? It's not like they're short of talent. But honestly, that whole top tier bracket, right? I know that's the most simple answer because like those are the top four, but like Dynasty's Dynasty, right? They went through like a quote unquote rebuild, but they got second. You know what I mean? Like they still made the finals. And then Impact with all the money they spent to lose to us again in Florida was great. But they're going to be a top talent. And then the Russians for their talent and their hard work. So like that'd be the top three that I look at. And I'm like, if we're competing for a series, those are the three. And then like if I went to like tier two, you gotta go damage. Because I think they've won an event. At least the past 2 years, they've won an event every year, right?
Yeah,
Damage.
they've done really well the past couple
Uh,
of years. Yeah, they won 2 in a row a couple of years ago. They won one last. I mean, they Damage is they won the 4th event last year. Started off a little rough, 13th, but then 6th, 7th, 9th. But the year before that, 2 in a row. They've put up multiple wins in the past couple of years, and this is kind of one of those questions that people have been going back and forth on. I mean, they get the new coach with Kevin Brethauer. They pick up Chris Shear. They get more depth. Um, picking up a couple other dudes. And I mean, you could argue very easily on paper they are better than the team that they had when you look at, adding the leadership of SK, adding more depth than they were when they were winning tournaments. So I agree with you that they should be in that conversation 100%.
and X Factor would be the only other team that I look at, and I'm like, I think that they'll be in like so all those teams I said I think will be in a finals this year at some point, right? So like I look at teams when I think of winning series on like history of winning, and those three and X Factor are the four teams I look at, um, just purely based off of people's cores and how much winning are in those cores. I think those are the top four teams besides us that will compete for the series for the next, probably next 2 or 3 years.
What are your thoughts on Uprising? I think it's a compelling story. I'm pretty excited to see
Yeah,
them play here in Atlantic City because since they added a little bit more depth to those existing veterans that we've been seeing for years, the Joel Eaton, Borromeo, Graham Arnold, but then they add Alec
Schroeder.
Holland and Mark Miterman, and that was the two missing pieces they needed because since those two additions have come on, they've been substantially better and are now sitting in tier 2 and looking pretty good. Though you guys
Which
didn't
is
have any problems with them
it's
in
like
the quarterfinals.
yeah, but I mean, I think we did have problems with them. We beat them 4-0, but like those points were close. You know what I mean? We just
They
closed
were,
better,
yeah.
right? I rewatched and I was like, we messed up a lot, and we got lucky that we just played better mid game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that team's amazing to watch. I love Uprising. All the dudes are super humble. They're all friends, right? They're all close. They all played, and I know a lot of them, or at least a couple of them, have turned down offers in the past just to stick with their boys, or like Schroeder came back, right, to play with his boys. And I think, or is it Schrader or Schroeder?
It's Schroeder. No, sorry, Nate Schrader. Yeah, but when you look at it, it sounds like Schroeder. But I have a funny story with that. He was when he first got on the Ironman. We were at the dye warehouse, and he's like, "Hey, Matty, it's Schrader," and I'm looking at how his name is spelled. I'm like, "Where's the A in this, bro?" Like, because that's how it goes. It's like I'm gonna give your name a good old college try, and until I'm
Yeah,
told how it's actually pronounced, you know. It's like your
absolutely.
guys' last name.
Oh, I get it. I was called Lockout for a while, so it is what it is. But no, but like Schrader coming back, I think was huge for them. He's been playing phenomenal. Like he was one of him and Miterman were like our two that we were like, you can't let them just do what they want, right? You got to keep them contained. And then the rest of their guys are so good at I think mid game situational as well, making the the key moves to get back into a game when they're down. Like you were saying, like Graham Arnold and all those guys. So yeah, I love their story a lot. Like I relate to them uh, team building wise, if that makes sense. So like I want to see those guys in a finals. I would love to play Uprising in a finals. I think that's really good for the sport, just based off of how both of us build our teams.
So last question, because I got to let you go here. I think down in tier 3, seeing as how this is a team that did make the finals last year, it happened to be in Atlantic City. I think this is a good closing question. Chicago Aftershock, didn't make Sunday. It was a pretty close one, went 2-2 with an even point spread, 15 points for and 15 against at the first event. But they have guys that know how to win. There are guys on that team that have won a tournament before, and they are stacked with talent. They have a super deep roster as well. What are your thoughts on Chicago Aftershock before I let you go?
No, honestly, I completely don't know why I spaced them. Yeah, their team's full of winners that have won together. I mean, like I can always remember like the 2020 Ironman right before COVID hit. A lot of those guys played together on that team, right? And then you got some dudes on that team that were MVPs of other teams coming together. And I think it's not if but when they get a win, right? All the talent, they have the coaching, they have the funding, they practice hard. It's yeah, they're another team I would add to compete for a series for sure. I don't know why I spaced them. Yeah, they're stacked. So I mean, and then you got like people like A Rod on that team, right? That are like probably the nastiest dude in the center in paintball history. I would say. So like when you have someone like that doing work in the center, I think it relieves a lot of pressure for people like Corey Hall and Hosky, and I think that's what helps their team tremendously. But I start thinking about their roster. I'm like, oh yeah, they're stacked top to bottom when we talk about depth. But yeah, no, solid team.
And that's kind of scary right now, is that there's a lot of stacked all the way down there, and it's making the story and the narrative very compelling here for a very fun 2025. I mean, as we've already seen, we got 4 more events to go. Next one is coming up in Atlantic City this weekend. Colt, thank you so much. Wish you the best of luck on your recovery with your knee. And again, just a big salute to you. Mad respect for you guys and how you guys have become a leading light for this sport. So I hope and I have full faith that it's going to continue. Thank you guys all for tuning in, and I will see you guys in Atlantic City.
Yes, sir.